I've always felt insecure about my eyes. They were small, hidden beneath monolid lids, barely noticeable. Worse yet, my eyelashes were so thin and sparse that you could hardly see them even from the side. I rarely looked in mirrors, and usually kept my gaze lowered in conversations, as if trying to disappear. These unremarkable eyes made it hard for me to meet anyone's gaze, especially my crush's. And honestly, how could I not feel jealous when I looked at girls with long, perfectly curled lashes? It just didn't feel fair. One day, Gwen, my roommate, came home beaming. She held out 2 boxes of false lashes.
These are for you. The salon had a buy one get one free deal on lash extensions. Trust me, once you try them, everything will change.
Gwen had already worn hers and looked beautiful, her lashes thick, curled, and dramatic. I couldn't help but wonder what it would feel like to finally like what I saw in the mirror. So I agreed. Without wasting time, Gwen carefully applied glue along my lash line and placed each lash one by one. The moment it touched my skin, I felt a sharp, stinging sensation along my lash line, but I clenched my jaw and didn't flinch. I reminded myself that beauty came at a price, and if that price meant finally being noticed, maybe even by my crush, then I was willing to pay it. Once the lashes were on, I rushed to the mirror and almost didn't recognize myself. My eyes looked different, framed by long, dark lashes. For the first time in years, I felt something like happiness. To make them pop even more, I added a heavy coat of mascara, darkening each strand until they fanned out thick and full. Looking at my reflection, I felt a strange and unfamiliar satisfaction. I was scared that this new beauty would fade too quickly, so I refused to do anything that might ruin it. I avoided water, skipped makeup wipes, and barely touched the skin around my eyes. I believed that if I took extra care, if I treated every lash like it mattered, this new look would last long enough to catch the eye of the one I secretly liked. Then, out of nowhere, my eyelids started to itch. I brushed it off at first. I noticed a few small, blurry white dots clinging to the base of my lashes. I convinced myself it was just dried glue, maybe clumpy mascara. Nothing to worry about. But Gwen wasn't doing well at all. Her eyes were bloodshot, veins branching out like spiderwebs. The skin beneath her lids had begun to swell, puffed up as if reacting to something toxic. Gwen kept blinking, rubbing at her temples, lips pressed tight like she was trying to keep something in. One afternoon, Gwen stepped out of her room holding a bottle of eye drops.
Layla, I think we should clean our lashes and maybe get checked. Something's wrong with mine.
I turned to look at her. Her lower eyelid was swollen, bulging like it might burst. The rim was red and slightly leaking. You're probably just more sensitive than me. I feel totally fine. She gave me a worried look but said nothing more. That evening she decided to go to the clinic on her own. Soon, a strange burning sensation spread from the base of my lashes down into my eyes. I checked the mirror, but all I saw was a red, irritated rim around my eyelids. Thinking it was a mild reaction, I picked up some eye drops, hoping they'd help. But even as the discomfort lingered, I refused to remove the lashes. I didn't want to let go of the one thing that had made me feel beautiful. That night, I went to bed early, hoping sleep would fix it. But my eyelids kept twitching. Annoyed, I rubbed my eye, and that's when I felt it. Something small and wet slid down my cheek. It was light, like a drop of sweat, but it moved. I bolted to the bathroom and turned on the light. Leaning over the sink, I froze. My lashes were infested. Tiny white mites clung to the roots, wriggling in clusters. A few lashes fell, trailing blood. I completely panicked. I grabbed the faucet and splashed cold water onto my face. It felt like blades against my skin, but I didn't care. I scrubbed and clawed at my eyes, tearing off the fake lashes with my nails, no matter how much it hurt. I kept rinsing until my eyes were burning, swollen, and the last of those white dots finally washed down the drain. When the water settled, I looked at myself in the mirror. They were gone. I stood there, shaking, too drained to cry. Then I crawled back to bed, telling myself that maybe, by morning, everything would be fine. I had no idea. The real nightmare was just beginning. Suddenly, I jolted awake, gasping from a sharp, unbearable pain. My eyes wouldn't open. My eyelids were so swollen and tight. It felt like something was pounding beneath the skin. I trembled as I struggled to open one eye. And when I finally did, I was paralyzed with shock. It wasn't just my eyelids anymore. Now the infestation had spread to my eye sockets, my cheeks, even my temples. They were crawling under my skin, and wherever they moved, the flesh began to peel and flake away, revealing raw, red tissue underneath. When I touched my face, I could feel them shifting beneath the surface. One of them burst under my fingers, releasing a foul yellow pus that reeked so badly it made me gag.
Layla?
It was Gwen. She had just come home. The second she saw me, she screamed, dropping the bag of medicine in her hands. I don't know what's happening to me. Please, help me, I whispered, tears streaming down my cheeks. Gwen rushed over, grabbed a pair of tweezers, and tried to pull the parasites from my face. But each time she touched one, it burst open with a sickening pop. When she gently tugged at the skin beneath my eye, a layer peeled away, revealing a nest of hundreds of pale, writhing larvae, squirming like they had just woken up. I collapsed to the bed, too weak to scream. Gwen broke into sobs, hands shaking as she fumbled for her phone.
Please, you have to help her! The lash mites, they started with me, and now they've taken over her!
Cheap, unverified beauty products can be dangerous. Always choose wisely, for your health and safety.
They say the face holds your fate, that certain features can block prosperity or open doors to fortune. I used to scoff at things like that, but the truth is, when enough people tell you you look tired, worn, drained, something inside you begins to believe it. Over the years, I started noticing the stares. Not long, not deliberate, just brief glances that always seemed to settle beneath my eyes. As if the dark circles, the swelling, the heaviness I carried there somehow spoke louder than anything I said. They weren't just eye bags. They felt like anchors, like weights that held me down, kept me small, kept good things just out of reach. So when I came across the ad, change your features, shift your fortune, eye bag removal, lifetime guarantee, last day of offer, something inside me responded before I could reason with it, and almost without thinking, I booked the appointment right then and there. The spa was quiet, tucked inside a building I'd never noticed before. Its windows dim, its hallways strangely hollow, as if the place had forgotten how to welcome anyone at all. As I stepped in, the receptionist greeted me with such warmth, such urgency.
You're so lucky. It's the final day. If you don't decide now, you may never get this chance again.
And I, already so tired of second-guessing, just nodded. I told myself it was fine. They didn't ask much, barely anything at all, and before I knew it, I was lying beneath bright lights, the procedure unfolding faster than I was prepared for. I lay back and closed my eyes as they worked in silence. I felt pressure, a tug, the strange sensation of something sliding free beneath my skin, and then it was done.
Smooth operation. You'll see the difference in days.
And I clung to that promise, hoping it might actually be true. My left eye began healing within 2 days, the swelling reduced, the bruising faded, and I started to believe that maybe this really would change something. But the right eye felt wrong. There was a dull, rhythmic pulse beneath the lid, a pressure that wouldn't subside. By the 3rd day, the area began to itch from the inside, and that night, as I bent over the sink to wash my face, I caught sight of a thin stream of blood curling down my cheek, slow, deliberate, like my skin had started to cry. I pressed gently, trying not to panic, but the pressure was building. Beneath the lid, I could feel something pushing outward, like a fist against silk. The next morning, I returned to the spa, hoping for answers, maybe even concern. But the staff didn't seem alarmed by my bloodied face. In fact, they appeared almost indifferent, as if this wasn't the first time they'd seen something like it. She pressed fresh gauze against my face, offered a soft smile, and said it was all part of the process.
Some people react more strongly, but don't worry. It's already been taken care of.
There was something rehearsed in her tone, something too smooth to be entirely sincere, but I didn't push. Maybe I needed to believe it was still going to be okay. After all, I'd already come this far. At home, everyone kept looking at me, but no one said anything. There was a quiet curiosity in their gazes, as if they were waiting to see if the new me would finally match the woman I used to be. I tried to believe I was on the verge of becoming beautiful. Just a few more days, I thought. Just enough time to heal before the family reunion. That night, I sat at the dinner table with my family, smiling through discomfort, pretending nothing was wrong. But the heat behind my right eye kept rising, slow and searing, until it felt like something inside me had caught fire. And then it happened. A thick, wet warmth slid down my cheek. Without thinking, I pressed my hand to my face, and when I pulled it away, my fingertips were stained with dark blood. I froze. A moment later, the skin beneath my eye began to swell violently, rising like a blister. It throbbed under the weight of every eye in the room. I stood, stammering an apology, my legs trembling as I backed away from the table. I pressed a napkin to my cheek and hurried toward the bathroom, ignoring the dozens of stares clinging to my back. Inside, I locked the door and turned to the mirror. What stared back wasn't me. And then, with a wet pop, the skin split open. From beneath the torn flesh, a pale orb pushed its way out, smooth, glistening, wrapped in a thin veil of fluid. Then the eye blinked. It wasn't mine. It wasn't even human. Smaller but fully formed, growing beneath my skin, with a deep red iris and a pupil slowly narrowing to the light. The worst part was, it was looking at me. It studied me. And in that moment, I felt more exposed than I ever had in my life. I stumbled backward, shaking, breath shallow and sharp. My real eye, the one I was born with, had turned glassy, unfocused, as if it had given up. But the new one, this thing, was learning. It blinked again, slower this time, like it was getting used to the world, getting used to being here. In that moment, I realized not every fate is meant to change for the better. Maybe I should have never cared so much about how others looked at me, because now I've lost who I am.
Please be cautious when considering low-cost procedures at unverified spas. These services may pose serious risks to your health, and in some cases, even your life.
I didn't know it would seep into me like poison. None of us did. Back then, the excitement of the role, the promise of fame, was a song I couldn't resist.
You're perfect for the Tin Man.
The director had said, eyeing me with that hungry, hollow smile.
We want real, authentic, pure art.
Real. It always starts with that word. And so I agreed when they told me the makeup would be special. An aluminum paint, a metallic sheen that would make my face gleam like I'd stepped straight out of a fairy tale. I sat in the chair for hours. The makeup artist was meticulous, layering on the aluminum liquid with a brush that felt stiff, almost sharp against my skin. The paint was cold, seeping into my pores, stiffening as it dried. I barely recognized myself when I glanced in the mirror, a grinning, gleaming statue of a man.
Don't smile too much.
The makeup artist warned.
It might crack.
Crack. I should have paid attention to that word too. The first sign was the itch. It started as a tickle under my chin, just beneath the aluminized jawline.
Cut!
I scratched absently, my fingernails scraping against the hardened paint. Nothing. My skin wasn't mine anymore. It was smooth and unyielding, a surface more metal than flesh. By day 3 of shooting, the itch had grown into a wildfire. My face burned underneath the layers of makeup, and the feelings spread like ants crawling up my throat into my ears. My skin no longer itched, it screamed.
It's fine.
The director barked when I complained.
Art is sacrifice, remember? Look at you! You're beautiful! The Tin Man lives because of you.
Beautiful. I stopped arguing. I stopped sleeping too, because every night I would wake with my body cramped in agony. Fingers curled into claws, toes bent until I thought the bones might snap. My skin felt hot, but my reflection was still ice cold. Then the coughing started. I was in my trailer rubbing my forearm absently. Aluminum dust shimmered off my fingertips like falling ash. I coughed once, then again, harder this time, and felt something catch in my throat. When I spit into the sink, the sputum was grey. Dark veins of aluminum streaked through it. It's fine, I muttered to myself, but my voice sounded wrong, hoarse, metallic, as if something hollow were vibrating inside me. I leaned in close to the mirror and gasped. The skin around my mouth had cracked. Tiny fissures ran from the corners of my lips, flaking open to reveal raw, oozing red. I touched it, and a piece of silvered skin peeled away like dried paint. I bit back a scream. I had become what they wanted, but... I went back on set the next morning, but no one would look me in the eye.
Don't touch him.
I heard one of the extras whisper.
The stuff gets on you. It doesn't come off.
My co-star recoiled when I brushed her arm. I looked down to see aluminum dust smeared across her pristine costume. I tried to wipe it away, but my fingertips left behind streaks, and when I pulled my hand back, my nails had turned silver. The burning worsened. My skin, no, my surface, tightened until I could barely move. I felt like a statue that might shatter if I moved too quickly. Still, they made me perform. Still, they called it art. The final scene was meant to be triumphant. The Tin Man walking into the sun. I staggered onto the set, blinking against the blinding light. Each step felt heavier than the last, my joints grinding like gears.
Keep going!
The director yelled. My feet stuck to the ground. I looked down and saw aluminum pooling around my boots, spreading like mercury, as if I were melting into the earth. I tried to lift my foot, but it was no longer mine. My toes had fused together, the aluminum consuming the spaces between them. Help, I croaked, my voice ringing like a cracked bell. No one came. The sun grew hotter. I raised a trembling hand to shield my face and saw the skin slough off, ribbons of aluminum paint fluttering away to reveal smooth, gleaming metal. My hand caught the light and reflected it back at me, a twisted, blinding mockery of myself.
Almost there.
The director whispered, his voice filled with awe. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came. My lips had fused together, my vision blurred, darkening at the edges, and in those final moments I realized what I had become, a statue, a monument to sacrifice. I woke up in a hospital bed, the ceiling a sterile white. My lungs burned with every breath, and a mask hissed softly over my face, pumping oxygen into me.
You inhaled too much aluminum dust.
The doctor said when I opened my eyes.
You're lucky we caught it in time.
Lucky. I spent 2 weeks trapped in that bed, ribs aching with every inhale, my body slowly purging itself of the aluminum poison. They told me my skin had turned blue during the reaction. I tried to laugh at the irony, but the sound came out broken. The studio sent flowers, but no apology.
They're replacing you.
My agent told me.
It's not personal, okay? They're changing the makeup. It's safer now.
Safer. I lay back in bed staring at the ceiling, imagining the next poor fool sitting in that makeup chair, letting the aluminum seep into his skin. I wondered if he'd see me in the mirror, a shadow of the Tin Man, trapped forever in the cracks.
Mukbang was everywhere. Everyone was doing it. Every time I opened YouTube, someone was stuffing food into their mouth like they were on a timer. The louder the slurping, the more views. I figured if they could do it, I could too. I set the lights, curated a pastel aesthetic, a table full of noodles, mochi, chicken wings, sauce dripping like blood. Then, reality hit. I didn't even make it through 1/5 of the spread. My stomach clenched. I vomited midstream. No one watched. No one cared. That night, I realized something cruel and honest. Normal doesn't trend anymore. People don't follow you because you're good. They follow you because you're memorable, weird, uncomfortable, unforgettable. So I pivoted to makeup. Beauty content always had loyal eyes. I wasn't a guru, but I knew enough. Contour tricks, dewy foundation, liner wings sharp enough to kill. I started going live, trying looks, doing get ready with me, whispering affirmations with fake confidence. And then it happened. In the middle of one stream, while demonstrating a serum dropper, a drop slipped past my lips. It tasted like perfume and ammonia. I gagged, my face twisted in revulsion. The comments exploded. They called it iconic, chaotic energy, too real. I didn't expect it to go viral, but the next day, the clip had over 600,000 views. People shared it, memed it, reenacted it. She ate the glow. Me accidentally eating shampoo as a kid. For the first time in my life, I was trending. PR packages started arriving. Lipsticks, masks, foundation sticks, perfume oils. Brands asked me to unbox, to review, to smile prettier. I felt like I'd made it. But fame is like sugar on the tongue. Sweet, fast, and then gone. A week later, views tanked again. The brands moved on. The inbox went dry. I paced my tiny apartment, eyes twitching from caffeine and ring light glare. I needed to be shocking again. I needed something grotesquely beautiful. What if I combined mukbang with makeup? The first time was rough. I applied blush, posed for the camera, and bit into the compact. The powder crumbled in my teeth, dry and bitter like old chalk. My tongue went numb. My throat itched. I forced a smile. It smells good. I lied. So it must taste good, right? I edited it to perfection. Bright filters, jazz music, kawaii overlays. Then I uploaded. Next morning, 2.7 million views. People were horrified and obsessed. Some mocked me. Some called me mentally ill. But others thought I was faking it. It's just candy shaped like makeup. She's trolling. No way she actually ate that. The crunch sound is edited. They thought I was a liar, so I decided to prove them wrong. I scheduled a live stream. Real makeup mukbang. Nothing fake. Watch me eat. I arranged the table like a banquet from hell. A lip gloss charcuterie. Sheet masks folded like crepes. Serum-filled wine glasses. Cotton pads soaked in toner, stacked like macarons. The viewers flooded in. 20k viewers, 50k, 90k. I raised a lipstick to my mouth, bit down. The wax snapped like bone. Bitter oil filled my mouth. I chewed slowly, staring straight into the lens. Comments flew by. She's actually doing it. WTF. Art? This is art. The more I ate, the easier it got. I found textures I liked. Glossy, velvety, crumbly. There was something deeply satisfying about it, like I was feeding a hunger I never knew existed. My body didn't like it, not at first. I got dizzy. My tongue swelled. My stomach felt like it was lined with fire. But I didn't stop, because the numbers kept rising. I was finally being seen. The brands dropped me, of course. Some sent cease and desists. Others ghosted me. But new people found me. Dark corners of the web that celebrated extremity. They dared me to go further. Drink setting spray. Eat a face mask whole. Let's see you swallow glitter. And I did. Every time. Soon, I couldn't go a day without it. Off camera, I snacked on powder compacts. I kept a palette by my bedside like comfort food. My skin turned raw. Red patches crept up my neck. My eyes leaked. I scratched until I bled, but I covered it up. With more makeup. Always more makeup. For my magnum opus, I planned the beauty banquet. I spent days curating it, baking foundation into cookies, melting lipstick into sauces, turning mascara into syrup. I lit candles, adjusted the camera, scheduled the live stream. When I went live, 100,000 people joined within minutes. The chat screamed. Some were terrified. Some were mesmerized. I was high on validation. I bit into a sponge. It tasted like heaven. My throat tingled. My chest bloomed with warmth. I kept eating. Then, I noticed the rash. Tiny red dots swelling into blisters. My skin was bubbling. My neck looked like boiling wax. Comments flooded. Is this makeup or disease? Filter? No filter? Turn off the stream. But I couldn't stop. I was so close to hitting 1 million live views. So I smiled, teeth smeared with glitter, and swallowed another mask. Then it hit. My throat clenched, like fingers inside me twisting. I couldn't breathe. My vision spiraled. I reached for water, but my arm didn't respond. It just dangled, twitching, like a broken puppet. I collapsed, face first into the table of cosmetics. My cheek burst open on the corner of an eyeliner tube. Blood mixed with blush. The comments kept flowing. Is this performance art? OMG, she's actually dying. call someone, but no one did. Now I live in fragments, in clips, in sound bites, in every girl who thinks a little glitter in her soup might be cute. You think I'm gone? I'm not. I'm in your algorithm, in every viral makeup prank, in every beauty challenge that goes just a little too far. So next time someone eats something for laughs, next time you watch and say, "She's just faking it," remember me, because I wasn't faking. And once you let attention inside, it never stops eating. I never told anyone how much I hated my skin. Not its color or texture, but the thick dark hair that made it feel like something I could never escape. Ever since middle school, I've been the werewolf, furball. Kids can be cruel, but what they said clung to me long after their voices stopped echoing down the hallway. Even at 18, standing in front of the mirror with a body I'd worked hard for, all I saw were dark, coarse patches of hair clinging to me like shame. I never wore tank tops or skirts in public, never anything that might expose what I fought to keep hidden. And whenever I walked past Jace, the boy I secretly liked, I held myself tight, afraid my skin would give me away. I tried everything, razors that left me bleeding, waxing kits that burned and stung and still didn't help. Each time, the hair came back thicker, darker, more stubborn. It was like my body was fighting against me just for wanting to feel normal. Then one night, scrolling through my phone in that dazed late-night haze, I saw it. It was a handheld laser hair removal device, advertised as giving salon results at home with flawless, touchable skin. It was portable, easy to carry anywhere, and nearly 70% off. I didn't hesitate. I couldn't stand the thought of a spa, of people whispering, of white lights highlighting every flaw, of towels that didn't feel like they were mine. Home was safer. When the package arrived, I locked my door, sat on my bed, and pointed it at my calf. The first pulse of light stung like fire, sharp and hot and too real, but I kept going. 3 days later, the hair was gone. My skin was smooth, smooth like the ads promised, like I never thought possible. I wore a skirt out for the first time, a real skirt, short and light and unapologetic. I even posted a photo. The comments flooded in. "You look amazing. Where have you been hiding that figure?" Even Jace commented, just 3 words, but they sent my heart into orbit. "You look incredible." For the first time I felt seen, not as the hairy girl, the one who always hid behind sweaters in July, but as someone worth looking at. But the high didn't last. 2 weeks later, I noticed it. Not just regrowth, but expansion. Hair crept into places it had never been before, along my lower back, up my arms, down to my ankles. It was darker, thicker, like my body was retaliating. In a panic, I turned the device up to a higher setting, hoping it would work faster. The pain got worse. My skin flared red, sometimes itchy, sometimes raw, but I kept going. I whispered to myself in the mirror, "You have to hurt to be beautiful." And I believed it. I wore a crop top the next day. People stared, but this time they smiled. They admired. That afternoon, Jace found me behind the gym, near the old garden wall. He was nervous, but he asked if I'd go to prom with him. I said yes. Of course I said yes. That night, as I slept, the nightmare began. I was standing in front of my mirror, device in hand. I pressed it against my arm and my skin began to bubble, sag, split at the follicles. Hair didn't just fall, it peeled away with the skin. I woke up in a sweat, heart racing. My arms were fine and smooth. I exhaled in relief. The night before prom, I stood in front of the mirror again. Just one more pass, I told myself. One last treatment to make sure every inch looked perfect. I turned the heat all the way up. It hurt more than usual, sharp like needles beneath the skin. But I didn't stop. The pain was proof it was working. Stepping into the ballroom, I felt like a princess. My silk dress hugged every curve, and my skin looked flawless. People turned and whispered, but their eyes held admiration. Some even glimmered with envy. Then I saw Jace. His eyes locked on mine like nothing else existed. He came straight to me, held out his hand and said,
Kara, you look beautiful tonight. No matter what you look like, I like you.
That should have been the perfect moment. But then I saw it. A single hair. Thin, dark, curling from the edge of my pinky like a taunt. I froze, smiled awkwardly, then whispered, I'll be right back. Jace looked confused, maybe a little worried, but he let me go. I couldn't let him see anything less than perfect. I rushed into the bathroom, my bag clutched tight against me, the device tucked inside. Inside the stall, I locked the door and powered it on. Outside, I heard two girls talking.
Kara looks amazing.
But still not as pretty as Eva. I saw her with Jace earlier.
I adjusted the setting again. Maximum heat. My hands were trembling. I needed this to work. I needed to be perfect. I waved the device over my hand, then my arm, anywhere a hair might lurk. But then the nightmare became real. My pores opened, not figuratively, visibly. The skin around them loosened, sagged. The texture shifted. My arm was changing, melting, like soft wax left in the sun. A sharp sting followed, then a burn, then full-blown pain. I screamed. I stumbled out, tears streaking my cheeks, skin blistering, flaking. The two girls screamed and bolted. I couldn't move right. My muscles felt detached, like my body was unraveling. Jace ran in. His face, once soft and admiring, twisted into something I couldn't bear to see. Disgust. His mouth opened like he was going to say something, but nothing came out. He passed out before he could. I woke up in pain, my body wrapped in gauze, my skin tight and unfamiliar. The doctor said I'd suffered severe burns, and they had done all they could. I looked down at my arms. They were barely recognizable, scarred, discolored, and stretched thin. The skin blotched grey and streaked red like something had tried to claw its way out. I stared in silence as a hollow ache filled my chest. Now I understand. Perfection was never real, but pain is, and it leaves marks that never fade.
Dreaming of her flawless look? Don't wait. Buy now and make it yours.
The thick, glossy black hair that once was my pride and joy. But things have changed. My hair started falling out, slowly at first, then in clumps. Brushing my hair became a terrifying nightmare. Strands kept falling to the floor, as if someone were cutting my hair that I didn't know. The patches of baldness grew larger and more noticeable. They made me feel insecure and isolated from everyone. Nick is an amazing guy, but I no longer felt worthy of standing beside him. My thinning hair and uneven bald spots made me look like an ugly monster, no matter how hard I tried to hide it. I knew Nick had seen the mess I'd become. One evening, after working late, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I wandered aimlessly through the dimly lit streets, lost in my thoughts. Suddenly, I found myself stopping in front of a wig shop. The place looked shabby. Through the grimy glass window, I caught a glimpse of myself smiling. My eyes locked onto it, a wig. But not just any wig. This was the thickest, most luxurious hairpiece I had ever seen. My heart raced with excitement. Yes, this was exactly what I needed. I had to buy this wig. Now look who's the one with this thick, gorgeous hair. It's me. Overwhelmed with joy, I called Nick.
You sound happy? What's going on?
I want to show you my new hair. Now I felt completely confident. I took the comb and ran it through my thick black hair. Oh, it felt amazing. But then, a sharp, itching pain suddenly interrupted my joy. The itch grew unbearable and I couldn't stop scratching. Tiny white flakes fell onto my hands. Why was there so much dandruff? And why did it seem like the flakes were moving? I shuddered and a sharp headache hit me again. I wondered, maybe it's all the long hours at work that caused this? I grabbed a bottle of painkillers. I gulped them down in a hurry. I told myself I had to endure, at least until the anniversary date with Nick. I couldn't let anything ruin this. That day, I decided to prepare a romantic dinner at home to surprise Nick. The doorbell rang. Nick stepped in. He handed me a bouquet of deep red roses. I forced a smile, trying to appear cheerful despite the worsening pain. Suddenly, Nick glanced around, his face hesitant.
Do you smell something weird, Ellen? It's kind of rotten.
I took Nick's hand and smiled brightly. I don't smell anything. Come on, let's have dinner. During the meal, Nick seemed uncomfortable. Then he took a small box from his pocket and opened it, revealing an exquisite ruby necklace.
Let me put it on for you.
His fingers gently brushed through my hair as he fastened the clasp, and for a moment, I felt the warmth of his affection. But then, a horrifying scream tore through the air. I turned to Nick, and then I saw his hand. Maggots. They were biting his hand, slimy and terrifying to the point that I couldn't breathe.
What is this?
Nick screamed, his face pale and twisted in horror. Nick looked at me as if I was some kind of monster.
So that's where the stench was coming from. It's you, Ellen.
Without another word, he bolted for the door, not even bothering to look back. At that moment, I realized something terrifying. The pain and the strange itching weren't caused by work stress. I clutched my head, the agony feeling like it was tearing my flesh apart. I desperately tried to pull clumps of hair from my scalp. The sticky substance clinging to my hands made me sick to my stomach. My heart ached. I couldn't believe my eyes. Maggots! They were crawling, wriggling beneath the thick layer of hair, clinging tightly to my scalp. I couldn't control myself anymore. I vomited, the disgust spreading through my entire body. I collapsed onto the floor. The pain was so intense it felt like my scalp was being torn apart. In the dim darkness, all I could hear was my own ragged breathing. My body felt weak and my vision blurred. I wanted to run outside to find Nick, but I couldn't. I felt myself slowly losing consciousness. Suddenly, I heard the sound of hurried footsteps. Nick! He had returned with a group of people. In my dazed state, all I could hear was one sentence from them.
We need to get her to the hospital immediately.
Everything was a blur. I saw the doctor holding my medical report. I heard the news on TV.
A girl has been hospitalized due to a wig made from the hair of a deceased person. The wig is believed to contain harmful parasites, causing severe health issues.
I pushed the glass door open, greeted by the faint smell of acetone and cheap air freshener. The nail salon was cramped, with walls adorned by faded posters of hands flaunting impeccable nails. The flickering fluorescent light above made the already dim space feel even more unsettling. But I didn't care about ambience. I just needed to distract myself, to feel like I was taking care of myself for once after weeks of spiraling since losing my job. The woman who greeted me had a weary smile. Her hands, however, stole my attention. Covered in warts and blemishes, they were grotesque. My stomach turned, but I told myself to stay calm. "Don't judge her," I muttered under my breath. "She's probably had a tough life, just like you." I sat in the cracked leather chair and placed my hands on the counter. She began filing my nails with clinical precision, her touch robotic. I avoided staring at her hands too long, keeping my gaze fixed on the grimy counter instead. After finishing my nails, she looked at my feet.
"Your toenails are too long,"
she said, her voice monotone but firm.
"We need to trim them."
I hesitated. My hands were one thing, but my feet? I wasn't sure if I trusted her enough for that. But before I could say no, she was already adjusting the chair and motioning for me to lift my leg. The first few trims were fine, but when she reached the corner of my big toe, pain shot through my foot like lightning. I yelped, jerking my leg back. She didn't flinch.
"Hold still,"
she said, grabbing a small bottle of disinfectant. She dabbed it onto the wound, and I winced as it stung.
"It's just a small cut, nothing serious,"
she reassured me, though her face betrayed no real concern. I glanced down at my toe. There was a tiny hollow at the edge of my nail, as if the clipper had gouged too deep. "Are you sure this is okay?" I asked nervously. Without answering, she reached into her drawer and pulled out a syringe.
"This will help with the pain,"
she said. I froze. "A shot? Is that really necessary?" She nodded curtly.
"Only a local anaesthetic. You won't feel anything after this."
Before I could argue, the needle was in. The relief was immediate, the sharp throbbing in my toe dulled to nothingness, and for a moment, I relaxed. That night, the itch began. It was subtle at first, just a faint tickle at the edge of my big toe. I dismissed it as part of the healing process. But as the hours dragged on, the itch deepened. I scratched absent-mindedly until my skin felt raw, but the itch wouldn't stop. The next morning, I woke to find my foot swollen, the skin around the cut reddish and tight. The itching had spread, crawling up my foot like an invisible infestation. Panicking, I returned to the salon. The woman wasn't there.
"She's sick,"
another worker explained.
"She won't be back for a while."
I felt a pang of unease but said nothing. That night, the itch turned into something worse. My foot began to ache, the skin growing hot and lumpy. Small, pale patches appeared around the wound, like moss clinging to a tree. I couldn't take it anymore. My foot was unrecognizable, bloated, discolored, and covered in strange fungal growths. Desperation drove me back to the salon. This time, another nail technician attended to me, her face a mask of indifference. She examined my foot and immediately retrieved a needle.
"This will drain it,"
she said flatly. I watched in horror as she pierced the swollen patches. Thick, yellowish fluid oozed out, carrying with it fragments of the fungal growth. But instead of relief, the fungus seemed to react violently. It spread faster, the pale patches climbing up my leg, merging into grotesque clusters. The sensation was unbearable. My skin burned and tightened as if something alive was writhing beneath it. I clutched the sides of the chair, tears streaming down my face. "What's happening to me?" I screamed. She didn't answer. Her expression remained blank as she worked, stabbing at the growths with mechanical precision. I didn't know if she noticed, but the infection had reached my hands. The skin on my arms bubbled and cracked, the fungus spreading in relentless waves. My vision blurred, my head spinning from the pain. The last thing I heard was a voice, not from inside my head, but distant and cold.
"Don't let this get out, or we won't be able to do business anymore."
Hi there. What beauty service would you like today?
This is my first time ever at a spa. In my whole 16 years of life. Looking like a total mess. I want to get waxed, but just got bullied and called a half-evolved monkey. Like this. Can it all be waxed off?
Of course. I'll help you get smooth, silky skin.
I lay on the bed, wrapped in nothing but a thin towel. All my imperfections were exposed in front of a stranger, making me more nervous than ever.
Is this your first time getting waxed?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Don't be nervous, it doesn't hurt at all.
While waiting for the wax to melt, the staff applied baby powder to my arms and legs. She then started spreading the first layer of wax on my arm. It was just warm, not as hot as I had imagined. Within minutes, both my arms were covered in wax. I suddenly noticed something floating in the wax. It looked lumpy, and there was even a hair in it.
Oh, it's probably just one of my hairs. Sorry about that.
I clenched my teeth, anxiously watching as she peeled off the edge of the wax strip, and then yanked it off in one swift motion. I looked down at my arm. A large patch of hair was gone, leaving my skin red, but there was still a thin layer of fine hair.
Don't worry, since it's your first time waxing, your pores haven't fully opened yet. I'll do one more round to get rid of all the fine hairs. It won't hurt this time.
Another layer of wax was spread over my already swollen arm. I could only trust her and stay still on the massage bed. For the next hour, I just gritted my teeth, held back my tears, and listened to the sharp rip-rip sounds as she pulled off each wax strip. Finally, after all the pain, I had the smooth, silky skin I had wished for. I paid for the service and headed home. The sweet spa staff even gifted me a bag of wax so I could do it myself at home. Once I got home, I followed her advice. I avoided water, applied a layer of snake vat balm to soothe my skin, and went to bed. The next morning, a new school week began. I finally had the confidence to wear the strappy top I had bought long ago, but had left forgotten in the corner of my closet. I walked into school with a completely new look. Everyone looked at me differently, and the bullies must have been shocked. I reassured myself that my skin was just irritated, because I hadn't used sunscreen. I applied another layer of snake fat balm and went back to sleep. That night, I couldn't sleep peacefully. My whole body felt unbearably hot, and a tingling itch crawled over my arms and legs, forcing me awake. Those disgusting hairs. They were trying to grow back. I had to get rid of them. I grabbed a pair of tweezers and started plucking them out one by one. The hair was unnaturally long, curling into a tangled clump as I pulled it out, leaving my pores oozing with blood. I gasped in horror. Then suddenly, I remembered the bag of wax strips the spa employee had given me. I melted the wax, and what I saw inside the pot made my stomach churn. Floating in the wax were chunks of dead skin and strands of hair in all sorts of colors, clearly from different people. A chill ran down my spine, and goosebumps covered my arms. The spa. They actually reused old wax for customers. Did that mean the wax I used yesterday was this disgusting recycled mess? Could it carry diseases? And then, as if responding to my horror, the hairs on my body started to wriggle. One by one, they pushed themselves out of my pores. No, I couldn't go back to being a hairy, disgusting monkey. I scratched at my arms and legs frantically, but strangely, I felt no pain. It was as if my skin had lost all sensation. My body burned with fever, and exhaustion took over. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, my arms and legs wrapped in bandages. I looked like a mummy.
No way. How could she have leprosy?
I turned my head and saw the doctor holding something. It looked like a dried wax strip.
This old wax contained bacteria from a leprosy patient. She's been infected.
No, that's impossible. That spa is big, it's reputable. My limbs feel numb because you gave me anesthesia, right?
Kate, don't be scared. Leprosy is treatable now. You just need to be patient.
Restrain her. We will come up with the best treatment plan for you. Please cooperate.
No, I'm not sick. Get the hell away from me.
I had always envied those Instagram models with their big, sparkling eyes. The way their gaze seemed to captivate anyone, It was mesmerizing. So when I got the chance to try colored contact lenses, I leapt at it. It was my first time, and I'll admit, the idea of touching my eyeball made me queasy. But for beauty, I could bear it. Standing in front of the mirror, I practiced holding my eyelid open, the small lens perched delicately on my fingertip. My first attempt failed. My reflexes forced my eyelid shut. "You can do this," I whispered to my reflection. After several tries, the lens finally slipped into place. I blinked rapidly, tears streaming down my face, but when I opened my eyes, I gasped. My reflection stared back with eyes that looked impossibly larger and brighter. The dull brown of my irises was replaced with a vibrant blue, shimmering like glass. I couldn't help but smile. This was worth it. That evening, I went out with my crush. His gaze lingered on me longer than usual, and my confidence soared. He even complimented my eyes, something no one had ever done before. We laughed, drank, and talked for hours. I felt like the center of his world. By the time I stumbled home, tipsy and giddy, I was too exhausted to think about anything. I collapsed onto my bed, still wearing my makeup and my lenses. Morning came like a sledgehammer. My head pounded, my mouth was dry, and my eyes, they ached. Groggy, I stumbled into the bathroom. The harsh light made me squint, and I rubbed my eyes, only for a sharp, gritty sensation to shoot through them. The lenses! I had forgotten to take them out. Looking in the mirror, I froze. My left eye was fine, but the right one looked wrong. The lens had shifted, partially obscuring my pupil. It gave the eerie illusion that I had two pupils in one eye. Great, I muttered. I grabbed the bottle of eye drops and tilted my head back, squeezing a generous amount into my right eye. The cool liquid was a temporary relief, and I reached up, trying to pinch the lens out. But it wouldn't budge. It felt slippery under my fingers, sliding further to the side each time I tried to grab it. My eye throbbed as I poked and prodded, desperate to dislodge it. "Come on!" I hissed, tears streaming down my face. Instead of coming out, the lens seemed to retreat, slipping deeper under my eyelid. Panic set in as my vision in that eye blurred. The skin around it felt swollen, and a dull, radiating pain started to build. By noon, the entire area was red and puffy. My eye burned, and each blink felt like scraping sandpaper. Defeated, I called an eye doctor. The clinic smelled like antiseptic, and the harsh fluorescent lights made my migraine worse. The doctor's calm demeanor did little to soothe my nerves.
"You've got quite a bit of swelling,"
he said after examining my eye.
"I'll try to remove the lens, but you might need more extensive treatment if it's embedded too deeply."
His words sent a shiver down my spine. Embedded? I sat rigid as he used a specialized tool to extract the lens from my left eye. Relief washed over me as the first lens came out, but then his frown deepened.
"Well,"
the doctor said after a few minutes,
"I managed to retrieve one lens."
He held up the tiny, translucent piece of plastic, now smeared with redness.
"But the other one, it's deep. We'll need more advanced tools to get it out."
My stomach dropped. Isn't there another way? Something less invasive? He shook his head.
"Leaving it in can lead to severe infection or even permanent damage. I strongly recommend we proceed."
The words permanent damage echoed in my mind, but so did the thought of medical bills. I had seen people online remove lenses themselves. If they could do it, so could I. "Thank you, doctor," I mumbled, grabbing my bag. "I'll think about it." Back home, I sat in front of my mirror, armed with a pair of tweezers and determination. My right eye was almost swollen shut, but I pried it open, wincing as fresh tears streamed down. I carefully inserted the tweezers, trying to grab the edge of the lens. Every touch sent waves of pain through my skull, but I couldn't stop. The discomfort only fueled my desperation. "Just a little more," I muttered, my voice trembling. The tweezers slipped, scraping against the sensitive surface of my eye. A sharp pain made me cry out, but I kept going. My hands were slick with sweat, my vision blurred from the constant flow of tears. Or was it blood? Finally, I felt the edge of the lens. I pulled, and it slid free with a sickening squelch. Triumph was short-lived. When I looked down at my hand, my stomach churned. The lens wasn't alone. Attached to it was something round, fleshy, and glistening. A bulbous lump of tissue hung limply from the tweezers. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. My right eye was gone. In its place was a dark, gaping socket, raw and glistening with blood. It was as if my entire eye had been pulled out along with the lens. No! No, no, no! I dropped the eye in panic. Dropping to my knees, I searched frantically for my dislodged eye. I glanced around, searching for the eye I had dropped, but the dim light played tricks on me, casting shadows that made my stomach churn. Where was it? My fingers skimmed the cold tiles until they brushed against something round and slick. I grabbed it, holding it tightly in my palm. I had to fix it. Maybe if I put it back quickly, it wouldn't be too late.